News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. There's your closing bell for this Friday on Wall Street, where traders jumped right back into the pool after some fresh inflation data kept Fed bets in play. More on that just ahead, but first, let's check those closing numbers. We bring them to you each and every day here at Bloomberg. The S&P 500 gained 39 points. NASDAQ gained 99 points. The Dow gained, pretty much 300 points. The 10-year Treasury yield at 4.17% and the 2-year yield at 3.64%. We're getting more details now on the deal to keep TikTok running in the U.S. Sources telling Bloomberg News the social media app's Chinese owner ByteDance will likely get about half the profit from its U.S. operations, even after it's sold to a group of American investors led by Oracle. Bloomberg Intelligence senior tech analyst Mandeep Singh.
TikTok U.S. was generating about $10 billion in revenue. Oracle was getting paid $2 billion just for hosting the app and, storing the data. Now that Oracle owns TikTok US, that revenue gets converted into a cost.
Mandeep Singh with Bloomberg Intelligence. The White House has said the U.S. version of TikTok could be worth about $14 billion. Some analysts see that as a lowball figure. And now Representative John Molinar, the chair of the House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party, is asking for an urgent briefing from the White House on the deal with TikTok. This is the first congressional effort to conduct oversight into the negotiations over TikTok. President Trump has shrugged off the threat of a possible government shutdown, blaming Democrats for any disruption. Senate Majority Leader John Thune says Democrats would have to dial back their demands and accept a clean stopgap bill. And if there is no deal, a shutdown could begin as soon as October 1st. As the president was leaving the White House this morning, he was asked about the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey. The president says he hopes to see more indictments of his political opponents.
They weaponized the Justice Department like nobody in history. What they've done is terrible. And so I hope there are others, because you can't let this happen to a country.
Comey was indicted on 2 charges related to testimony he gave in Congress. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered hundreds of top brass from around the world to travel to Virginia to hear him make a speech on military standards. Sources tell the Washington Post the meeting is meant to be an eyeball-to-eyeball conversation focusing on the warrior ethos and last less than an hour. The Pentagon has not said what the meeting is about. Many of those expected to attend are bracing for firings or demotions. The United Nations will reimpose broad sanctions on Iran after days of diplomacy in New York failed to ease a standoff over Tehran's nuclear program. The UN Security Council voted down a resolution that would have given Iran a 6-month reprieve before the binding sanctions are restored. Now to that eco data that moved stocks higher. Personal spending rose by more than forecast last month, while underlying inflationary pressures held steady. The Fed's preferred gauge of inflation came in at 2.9%, still above the Fed's 2% target. Former St. Louis Fed President Jim Bullard thinks the central bank can look past that.
On the inflation side, there's no surprise here. So that seems to be very consistent with the committee's story that they'll be able to look through inflation and then expect it to fall in 2026. So I think this leaves everything on track to have further rate cuts.
Former St. Louis Fed President Jim Bullard is a candidate to succeed Jay Powell as chair next year. He was a guest on Bloomberg Surveillance. Consumer sentiment fell in September to a 4-month low on growing concerns about the impact of high prices on personal finances. Consumers expect prices to rise at an annual rate of 4.7% over the next year, and 44% mentioned that high prices are eroding their personal finances. Joanne Shu is Director of Consumer Surveys for the University of Michigan.
Inflation expectations for the short run ticked down just a little bit, but it still remains quite high, much higher than last year. For the long run, it ticked up just a little bit, lower than what we were seeing in April and May, but again, much higher than last year. Consumers are still quite worried that tariffs are going to pass through to higher consumer prices in the future.
The monthly decline sees sentiment sliding back toward April's low reading. Apple has developed a ChatGPT-like iPhone app codenamed Veritas to help test and prepare for an overhaul of Siri coming next year. The new Siri is now slated to debut as early as March after multiple delays, and its success could help propel Apple toward an AI comeback or risk slipping further behind smartphone rivals. Sinclair will allow Jimmy Kimmel Live back on the air. Disney had ended Kimmel's suspension after just a few days of protests and subscription cancellations, but Sinclair and Nexstar doubled down on their decision to preempt the show on their affiliate stations. Well, now Sinclair, which owns and operates nearly 40 ABC stations, has decided to return Kimmel to the air tonight. Day one of the Ryder Cup underway at Bethpage Black in New York. Right now, play is underway in 4 matchups. The U.S. is leading in 2 of them. Europe is leading in the other 2. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. This is Bloomberg.